Mm.
Welcome everyone to Soulfield Sunday. We're so blessed and glad that you're here with us live, those of you who are here live, and those of you who are joining us in the eternal now in the recording. We're just so blessed to have you with us. And Nancy and I were feeling this morning as we came together in preparation, just the exquisite blessing and the immense celebration of getting to be together in this way, of actually getting to come together and commune in the soul field. And so we're just inviting you into that celebration with us today. We're inviting you in to receive the transmission of our hearts and our souls and of your own heart and your soul as we journey together.
Mm. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Let's start by lighting our candles. And as we light our candles, we ask that the temple of divine perfection to be open so it can hold everything that needs to be transformed, anything that needs to be held for a little bit. And my candle's not lighting, so I'm gonna do it. There we go. It has to light, right?
The lighting the candles is this reminder of the light within, and it's also an invocation of a sacred field of protection. And so we invoke that as we begin with our opening prayer.
Yes, yes. And so as we light the candles, we are entering this divine, beautiful, magnificent field. And I want to invite you to not think of it, but let yourself feel yourself into the field. When we think too much, we sometimes get the stories in the way. But when we feel and we tune into our bodies, then we allow ourselves to really dive deep into the space, the soul space, not the thought space, but the thought space, the soul space. I can't even talk today.
And so we come with grateful, reverent, and open hearts to drink from the deep well of our eternal nature. As we dive into the soul field together, we are held within a sacred embrace by the source of all love, light, and grace. In this eternal now, we actively invoke our unique pathways to source and the beings of love light that support our divine evolving. We allow our mind, body, spirit to expand into the holy realms where magic and miracles are commonplace. As we minister to ourselves, we minister to one another and our family humanity. We recognize we are one in the holy wholeness. We allow all we do here today to ripple out through our lives as a living witness of divine grace for the benefit of all our relations.
Venimos con corazones agradecidos, reverentes y abiertos a beber del profundo pozo de nuestra naturaleza eterna. A medida que nos sumergimos juntos aquí en el campo del alma, somos sagradamente acogidos por la fuente de todo amor, luz y gracia divina. En este ahora eterno, pedimos que se abran nuestros caminos hacia el Creador, junto con los seres de amor y luz que apoyan nuestra evolución divina. Permitimos que nuestra mente, cuerpo y espíritu se expandan hacia los reinos sagrados, donde la magia y los milagros ocurren constantemente. A medida de que atendemos nuestras propias necesidades, asimismo atendemos el uno al otro y a toda nuestra familia humana, reconociendo que somos uno en la totalidad sagrada. Permitamos que todo lo que se haga aquí hoy continúe fluyendo en nuestras vidas como un testimonio vivo de la gracia divina para el beneficio de todos. Every time it just becomes more and more like clear how impactful that prayer is.
It's this beautiful thing when something is given from spirit that we don't know even all of what those words mean yet. And we're discovering together what this living prayer is that we're living together. And it's very exquisite. And so, speaking
Yes.
living prayers, ah, we'll do our affirmation together. And as always, you can rub at the earlobes or tap on the thymus. Today, I've got this exquisite stone on my thymus, so I'm probably going to ear rub, but you can whichever
Can you
feels.
see
Yes,
the
it's
the
there.
one screen?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and is it by itself, or is there
Yes,
something else?
yeah,
Okay, great. Thank
yes.
you.
And Nancy will
And my
call
screen.
and we will respond.
Mm. I am grounded in my soul values.
I am grounded in my soul values.
I see clearly what is for me and easily choose that which uplifts and glorifies my life.
I see clearly what is for me and easily choose that which uplifts and glorifies my life.
I am living soul sovereignty, choice by choice.
I am living soul sovereignty, choice by choice.
I am grounded in my soul values.
I am grounded in my soul values.
I see clearly what is for me and easily choose that which uplifts and glorifies my life.
I see clearly what is for me and easily choose that which uplifts and glorifies my life.
I'm living soul sovereignty, choice by choice.
I am living soul sovereignty, choice by choice.
I am grounded in my soul values.
I am grounded in my soul values.
I see clearly what is for me and easily choose that which uplifts and glorifies my life.
I see clearly what is for me and easily choose that which uplifts and glorifies my life.
I'm living soul sovereignty, choice by choice.
I am living soul sovereignty, choice by choice. Ooh.
Yes,
Do
yes. So beautiful.
you
I love it.
notice in your vibration, just by way of either in the chat or you can kind of raise your hands or make the gesture? I'm like that.
Yes, 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 yes.
Mhm.
It's it makes so much sense every time. Every time it's like, oh yes, I get to see what's clearly there for me and I get to choose. And I have this values. It's more than just my earthly values, it's my soul values. There's so much wisdom in that sentence.
We're
Mm.
continuing today the series on choicefulness in an engineered fake world that's vying for our attention. And our topic today is thought field versus divine mind and activating the luminous heart-brain-soul connection, which is where divine mind lives. And so we'll talk a little bit about what we mean by the thought field, the impacts of culture and perhaps our lineage, etc., and how we'll work today on how we really enter into the divine mind and what we mean by that.
Yes. So in our gatherings that Luminarian and I have to prepare for the solstices or equinox or this meetings, we intend to ask the divine to show us what is it that we need to impart. It usually doesn't come from our thoughts. It's usually something that is shown to us in every meeting, and we willingly follow that guidance, and we then co-create with guidance. And this information comes in different ways. It could come in in a meditation, or a sense that we get, or just this gut feeling, or an image that pops up. And one of the images that popped up for us was seeing ourselves as this beings of light. Like each of you is this being of light. And you as a being of light, you have a choice to how you want your life to play. And in that choice, it's a co-creation. It's sort of like you are this being of light and you have this projector and you choose what movies you want to put in that projector. And the movies are there. There's everything in the universe available to you. Everything that you want is available, everything. But we sometimes choose the movies that are connected to our childhood experiences, the stories that we heard from our ancestors, the stories from our country, our culture, and we create this movie according to the information that we have available there, or that we think we have available is the one that we see at the moment. And so the way that this image showed up was as if you have a library, and Luminaria was very good at calling it a field of thoughts, a thought field that you can pick from, right? And so as the movie's projecting, we tend to sometimes get caught up in the movie. And I don't know if it's happened to you, but sometimes I watch a movie and I'm like, run, go do this. I'm telling the actors how to behave, even though they can't hear me and it's a movie. You know, I get so involved that I forget that I live in this world. That's how it's presented also in this realm, where we are this luminous beings and we get so caught up in the movie that we forget that we have choices, that we forget that we have the ability to change the movie. We feel like we are in the movie, suffering and struggling. We are that actor, and we forget that we are this co-creator. And so the movie plays out a lot of stories, a lot of fears. And when we're so caught up in the movie, it's hard to say, well, Nancy, you know, this is a real fear. And I'm not discounting, and we're not discounting that emotions, experiences are not real in that life that we are projecting. And we need to experience those in order to heal. I think that what I want to say, we want to say is, remember who you are. Don't forget, you're a lot more than the traumas. You're a lot more than the stories. You're a lot more than that. Yes, project the movie you want to project and live it and heal it and work it. But don't forget who you are.
Yeah. It's the distinction between thinking that we are the stories of our lives versus remembering, as Nancy said, that we are these luminous beings. And in that luminosity, we have connection to the source of all things. We have connection to the divine mind where every possibility lives, and where we actually can choose what is our next creation and our next creation. And what lens do we want to use to look at the past creations even? But one of the things that gets in the way is that we do have a cultural overlay that, that is using mind manipulation and using field disruptors, like intentionally disrupting the sacred field in order, and this has been happening for millennia, in order to control in some way or direct in some way the masses, in order to separate us from, disconnect us from the remembrance of who we are. In Nancy and my Catholic upbringing, we have, a center of spirituality in Christ. And in the incarnation of Christ, in every writing, there is something that he says to his disciples, which is, this and greater things you shall do. This and greater things you shall do. As he is performing miracle after miracle and communing so fully with the divine that he knows that he is literally the Son of God, this and greater things. And yet, the powers that be want to disconnect us from that for some reason, whether that's deep fear driven, it is deep fear driven, right? And so ours is to decide, are we going to tune to that cultural dynamic field? Or are we going to tune to the fullness of who we really are? And
And
so,
when,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, keep going.
Um, one of the things that we want to present to you, and this may be a familiar conceptualization for some of you, it may be new for some of you, is understanding what these biosuits are, and literally cellularly. Right. So, in the beautiful work of Bruce Lipton and his work, The Biology of Belief, he speaks about how cellular biologists discovered, and I'm not going to go into the long story of it, I'll just do very brief, that on the surface of every cell, we have these sort of like tentacle structures. And cellular biologists actually named these self receptors, SELF, self receptors. And what they discovered in transplant research is that if you strip those self receptors off of a cell and put it in someone's body, their body doesn't yell, "Not me." But if you keep those self receptors on and you put those cells in someone's body, the body attacks it. It says, "This is not me." And so it begs the question, where does self live? Right? Because if you take those antenna off, it loses self. Right? So the self is the antenna, it's the tuning. We are a tuning mechanism. And what we tune to impacts what we bring through. It impacts the frequency that we're living. It impacts how we relate. And so if we are tuning to the thought field of culture, or the places where the movies of challenge and drama and trauma live, where the movies of victim and martyr and difficulty live, then we will have that experience. And as Nancy said, we can get over identified with it and we can forget that we're simply tuning to that and projecting that in the lived experience of our lives, rather than tuning to the divine mind. Right?
Yes.
Go to we're just like, oh my
I know, we're so excited for this.
This transmission's flowing with so much love and beauty, and I hope you're receiving it there.
Yes. And I was gonna say that when Christ said, "This and greater things you shall do," what he meant was like, I'm not special. You can do it too. Like anybody can do actually even better than me too. It's not a big deal. But what is it that stops us from creating miracles? Is the stories, is the movies that we put in that projector. And so if I think, well, only this kind of people can do this kind of thing, then guess what? That's going to be my reality. I don't know if it's happened to you when you have thought of like, oh wow, I saw the number 22 the other day, and then all of a sudden you see 22 and 22 and 22 and 22. All of a sudden it starts happening all around everywhere. It's because you are tuning into that. It's not magic, really. Everything is available. So what do you want to see now?
Yes.
$20 bill, let's go. $20 bill, let's see it now. Or the ideal partner, let's see it now. But the limitations come is when your fears, our fears, get in the way and say, oh, no, I can't have $1 million. That's ridiculous. You know, that I would have to work so hard. Woo, movie, story, let's put it over here. When Jesus was like, you can do it. You can turn water into wine, like no problem, you know, like multiply the bread and the fish. Let's go. We can do this. But it is our stories.
Mhm.
because we're not tuning into the divine mind, we're tuning into the stories that we grew up with. And it's not easy, honestly, it's not easy to dismantle the stories. It's not easy. I to get out of the movie and recognize, oh, I was in this movie the whole time, and I actually put the film in that movie. Oops, I mean to. It's, I would say, the way to recognize that you have this direct connection with the divine mind is by healing those aspects of the movie first, and then looking at yourself as this divine being that is made of God. Every cell of you is made of God. It's made of that light. And so what do you want to co-create when you know that? When you know that God wants everything for you, the divine energy, whatever you want to call this. And so tuning into the divine mind requires that you surrender, that you don't say, well, this is the way it's supposed to be, because that's the story. But really realizing, okay, you know what? This might have happened for a reason. And I'm here to watch, to observe, and be guided, to tune in.
Yeah, Nancy's really speaking to a certain aspect of divine acceptance, sacred surrender, and the comfort in the unknown. Because when we enter into the divine mind, when we enter into that space, we are entering into the co-creative space. We are entering into a certain kind of surrender of like, thy holy will be done. In other words, whatever is the highest, most beautiful creation here, let that be. And I can't personally know what that is. I don't have a mind that can track all the implications of any singular moment. Right? So when I come to someone with the sacred gift of my hands that heal, I don't have an attachment to what that healing is and what the miracle will be and what form it will take. Mine is to simply allow and to be in the mystery. But one of the things about the cultural mind or the thought field is that it tells us we need to know. And if you think you have to know something, then you will only live in the field of replication. You will live in the field of what you have known or what you think you can know, rather than in the place of the divine mind, where possibilities beyond your imagining exist, where the way things come into form is not the way you would assume it or presume it to be. Maybe, but maybe not, right? This willingness to surrender the knowing. When we're tuned this way, when we intentionally tune into the divine mind, sacred protection is inherent because we've tuned ourselves to the highest possible frequency for whatever we're tapping into at that given moment. We've intentionally tuned our biospiritual systems to that. And when we notice the thought field or we notice our mind try to tell us something different, go into fear, oh, I know how this is going to play out. I know who that person is, or I know who this is going to play out because I know what happens out there in the world. Like when we go there, we step out of that divine mind. And so when we notice that, the invitation is to call ourselves back, to just keep coming back to that, to the place where there is infinite possibility, infinite beauty, and what we're going to invoke today, infinite opulence.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And what Luminaria was saying, when we are tuning into this divine mind, is it's a mind, it is a feeling that is full of possibilities. It's not tied to the past or the future. It's just here now in this moment. And as you get to know yourself and you heal your traumas and you take care of you, you start to recognize that you're working on your stories, and you are now realizing that you are much more than the stories, much more than your background or your cultural stories or what society says or Instagram says. No, you're so much more than that. And you are just this pure, pure being of light. That your mind is pure, your heart is pure, and that you connect to that pureness of your heart anytime. And if you feel some anxiety, if you feel some strong emotion that doesn't feel right, you can look at what's happening. Maybe, you had a horrible night's sleep, or maybe you didn't eat something that was the healthiest for your body, or, there are so many things that can happen in the story. You saw something, but in reality, you can actually observe that with compassion and know that you're still that light. And so when we tap into this light is so bright and so pure, then you start to understand that everything else lives outside of your light. All those thoughts are sort of floating around, and you can choose to bring them in or not. I want you to try next time that you have this negative thought. See if you can grab the thought in your mind's eye, just grab the thought and be like, I don't want to put this movie right now here. And you take it out. And it might seem simple, but it is actually an act of tapping into your divine,
Mhm.
who you are.
Yeah.
Ah,
Would you put the image up for us?
I was gonna ask you if I can do that. Yes, share it. Mm. Can you see it?
This is
Yeah.
a representation of the connection to our exquisite nature and the divine nature of our mind and our heart, the communion between our spirit, represented by that almost like halo structure, the glowing of the mind, the glowing of the heart with that exquisite geometry. And these things around the clouds and the little wheels representing thoughts and creations, and recognizing that, we get to be in choice. And so we're going to do three actually things today to facilitate a recalibration, a realignment, a remembering. One of them is that we're going to call in a flame, and we're going to let that flame work while Nancy leads us through a way of sort of waking up the light in the body. And then we're going to go into a little bit of meditation to affirm and connect more fully with that once there's literally that cellular awakening has happened. And so we're going to call in the flame of infinite opulence. And this flame is like liquid golden light. It has a very fluid quality to it, like metallic, sparkly liquid golden light with these beautiful, luminous, almost diamond-like lights flowing through it. And this flame is about reminding us to what we call our adamantine nature. This is the place where we are like a diamond, where we reflect the light perfectly in all directions, where we receive the light and we reflect it back out. And so it's reminding us and helping us realize our true opulent nature. It's alchemizing, it's literally turning to gold those things that no longer serve us, recycling that energy so we can use it in the newer vibrations that we want to create in. And it aligns us with the knowledge that as we do that, we are plentifully provided for, that like everything we need is coming in whatever shape, form, and way. And it helps to release the parts of us, the stories that we have, negative or false perceptions about being like that, being this like glowing being of light in our adamantine nature, celebrating, remembering, and having others see that, of receiving plentifully the abundance of the universe, of the capacity to create, to be in the field where miracles are commonplace, as we say in our prayer. Releasing the false stories that would keep us from that, that would cause us to have negative ideas around living in that kind of abundance, material abundance, emotional abundance, financial abundance, relational abundance, etc. Right? The nature of the universe is plenty, is plenty. And this is about reminding us that we are part of that divine mind. And so we take just a moment. We're already vibrating here together. We take a moment to allow the awareness to drop inward. And we call forth the flame of infinite opulence, the flame that is liquid metallic gold light with sparkling diamond light in it, to swirl into our bodies and energy fields and into the space between us as well, activating remembrance, intercommunicating with our biospiritual system to facilitate a recalibration in whatever way serves us. And so we'll take a couple of moments to receive this with that internal gaze, and then we'll let ourselves continue to receive as we open into a practice for literally waking up the cellular light.
So as you're allowing this delicious infinite opulence light to come in, open your eyes for just a moment so you can look at the tapping that we're going to be doing now. I know it feels so delicious to stay there, but I want you to see what we're going to do next. We're going to use a tapping technique called Qigong. Qi means the life force, and Gong is work or calling. And so we're going to actually call that light because we have been asleep for a long time, and it's time to wake up that light. It's time to say, like, hey, light, remember who you are. Get out of the movie. Come out. Remember. And so we're going to do tap-ins into our entire body. So you're welcome to stand up if you want. I might stand up myself to show you. And we're going to start, I'm just going to go with my intuition. We're going to start tapping in gently on the top of our heads to wake up, and just tell yourself, wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up, light. And we're going to go down the arm. Wake up, arms. Wake up, light.
Tap with us.
Under the arms too. Wake up, wake up. You're going to go on the other arm too. Wake up, light. Wake up. Wake up, wake up. You're going to do that with your chest and then with your back. If you can reach, wake up. We're going to wake up our entire body. We're going to wake up the chi in our bodies, and we're going to go down our legs. Wake up. Wake up all the way to our feet. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. And we're going to go up, 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 our backs, all the way up, 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 up. And we're going to tap everywhere, everywhere. If you can feel it, I can feel the tapping. And we're going to end up through the back of our head all the way to the top. Waking up, waking up.
And you can kind of like go back to any places that want a little more wake up. For me, around my hips, they're like, oh, wake up, wake up.
The heart, whichever place you need to wake up the light in you. Wake up.
Soles of the feet if you want.
Yes.
That's
Or just feel where you need to wake your energy up. And maybe it's your entire body that needs to wake up, maybe a little sleepy.
It is Sunday morning.
Yes, but don't worry. We're going to go into a meditation so you can actually, as you are awakening this beautiful light in you now, You're feeling all of the vibrations from this as you're diving into this meditation that Luminar is going to guide us into.
So let's just let ourselves listen if there's any more tapping that wants to happen, if there's any places where the body wants. And as we actually kind of move into this meditation, you can listen to your viscera and you can bring the invitation for that wake up light to it. Nancy and I, as we come together, as she said earlier, we have these images and these experiences. And Nancy kept seeing us like literally tapping on your hearts, going, wake up, light, wake up, light. And so we're tapping on your hearts right now. Wake up, light, wake up, light. And really, like, this is it. Wake up, light. This is the call today to wake up, light.
Wake up, light.
And to just simply be in that space where our light awakens. And that you can allow yourself to drop awareness inward. And as you feel the internal gaze, you can notice the activation of that Qigong practice that Nancy led us in. You can feel like cellularly your cells are waking up. The flows of energy in the body are waking up. And in that awakening, feel the magnificence of every cell, the infinite opulence of every cell in your body, like this exquisite biospiritual system and the cellular structure that weaves a web of light that can literally tune and project and create. And you just marvel at that for a moment. This heart that knows to beat on its own. These lungs that receive on their own. The kidneys that are cleansing and purifying the blood that the heart is pumping, and you don't have to tell it, these cells know. The glands that are getting the signals from the body and the field and releasing certain combinations of amino acids and neuropeptide chains that we call hormones, that we call emotions. This ecosystem of bacterias and fungi and all kinds of creatures that live in this biospiritual system to help create balance. It is magnificent. You are magnificent. And interpenetrating every one of those cells and every one of those creatures that live in the ecosystem of body is the brilliance of your eternal light. Your magnificent, adamantine, brilliant, pure, and perfect light. That gets to inform everything happening in the ecosystem of your biosuit and the way that it interrelates with the fields of light and thought that you are embedded and dancing in, consciously or unconsciously. And breathe into the luminosity of your mind, of your brain, of this organ that receives and transmits, codes and decodes, and invite that magnificence that you are to be a remembrance that flows through the entire structure of your brain, from the very front, through the middle, to the very back, to the sides. Your luminous nature until the whole head is glowing. And you allow this communion with your eternal nature, with your infinite opulent light, to realign, rebalance, and reharmonize the physical structures of the physical brain. Calling in your communion with the divine mind that simply neutralizes anything not congruent for you at this time on your path. And you allow, it's a receiving, the simplicity of an intention followed by the ease of a breath and an opening. And you remember the privilege of having a body and how easy it is to let the light and the luminosity flow through it. And that light flows not just in the mind, but in the heart. And not just in the heart, but in the pelvic bowl, in the sacred womb, and in everything around and in between. You are scintillating in the remembrance of this. Seated in the soul field, communing with the divine mind. And you let each breath be an invitation of possibility. And you see anything that you've been grappling with, any pain that you've been in. You see it through these luminous eyes of awareness, the internal eyes. You see the beauty of those experiences. You see the challenge of those experiences. And mostly you recognize that the stories and beliefs are not, quote unquote, running the show. That it is this one, your luminous nature, that is observing and noticing and remembering and recalling. That is the director and the writer. And you breathe more of your luminous light into those places of challenge. And you recognize that your luminous light is connected to a luminosity so bright, so big, so beautiful, that it literally formed all the stars and planets in this and all other universes. You are connected to that. You are that. And as you remember, you become as such. And so you let that vast expanse of light into every corner of your life, into every story, and especially the ones that feel more shadowy, less illuminated, more full of stuck. And you see those things becoming like that golden liquid light with diamonds of light floating in it. And you see that liquid golden light with diamonds flowing out through all the avenues of your life, through all the stories, with all the characters that are part of your life. A sacred offering flowing out in every direction. And with each breath, you feel that light being registered and received. And while you're allowing that to happen, we'll play the song of our series.
Such a delicious space to be in. Be tapped in, connected, to remember.
As you're making your way back from this meditative space, let's put some words in the chat. What you're noticing, if you're watching this via recording, just take note. What do you feel right now? What is alive in your body? What is the quality of your energy? And I'm actually going to push pause. So if anybody wants to take themselves off of mute and share, we can do that in anonymity. So we were talking about the experience in the body, and somebody brought up purring and that vibration, feeling like it's running through the biospiritual system, and made me think of something. I saw a video this week about bees, that they don't actually fly. They're not flying. They make a sound through their body. And when that sound reaches the vibration of the earth, they move through space in whatever way they want. So it's actually the vibration of a hum in them that moves them. They are not flying.
Wow.
Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? And so this remembrance that, like, what happens when these biospiritual systems, someone else said, tuning to the earth in a different way, when these biospiritual systems tune to the earth and they start humming with a different frequency, like what becomes possible? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Someone mentioned too the infinite, the feeling of this is just goes on forever. And it's so beautiful and it's so infinite. There's so many possibilities. I was experiencing looking up and seeing just the infinite space and seeing the double helix, as you were mentioning, the body and everything, and just seeing the double helix into my body and how we are created from this light. It's just really gorgeous. And I could see my thoughts to creating something, and I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, hold on. I want a different story over here, and just having that ability to move things, as this divine person or being that we are.
yeah. We we may be meant to say this at the beginning of the session, but we'll say it at the end, that this transmission that came through for today is sort of a precursor and a preparation for the fall equinox ritual, which will be on Soulfield Sunday on the 22nd of this month. And it will be at our normal 11 o'clock start time, but it will go, I don't remember if we said 2 hours or 2.5. We'll have to look back at our notes at whatever we got called to. We were feeling it wasn't long enough, and Spirit's like, well, use the soul field before to prepare. And so this is part of what today has been, this preparation for what's coming in the fall equinox, in the reaping of the harvest of our capacity to create our lives. And it's also, incidentally, the first year anniversary of Soulfield. And so we began with our first Soulfield meeting. It was actually September 20th last year, but it was that particular Sunday, that fourth Sunday of September. And so we're coming on our year anniversary, and we'll be celebrating this equinox together. And so it's just a doubly potent moment. And we hope you'll all join us as best as you can live, and certainly if not, via recording, for the beauty of the ritual that's coming, that's a continuation of today's transmission and activation.
It'll be our 22nd event on the 22nd of September.
Whoa! Nancy mentioned the twos earlier. There we are. There's our 22s.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I'm going to share some links on the chat. And the first link is, if you want to have these events on your calendar automatically, so you don't have to write them down and put them there, you can go to soulfield.org/calendar, and you can just click there and add it to your calendar. The next ones are social media links, including YouTube, where we post the recordings in case you want to share with somebody, or you want to re-experience this magic, or there's something that you missed. You're like, oh, I want to go back to that. the YouTube, Luminaria has been posting them regularly, so thank you, Luminaria. And they're available for you as well. And if you think that somebody will benefit from joining us here, either in present moment or at a later time, have them go to soulfield.org so they can sign up, and we can send them our emails with instructions and all of that information. As always, thank you for your donations. Thank you. It really helps us be here present, even though we do this for the goodness of our hearts. Truly, we do. And this is, it helps us also help other people who want to participate in events and tithe back to the community and give to others. So thank you. Thank you for that. So all the links are there. And don't forget that September 22nd is our next event. So we are really, really excited for what's coming. Excited.
So we'll say our closing prayer together, and we'll officially close the soul field.
My candle made it.
We are deeply grateful to have experienced miraculous communion with our holy wholeness in the soul field. We wholeheartedly receive one another's communion as an upliftment. As we close this formal gathering, we each, in our own way, will continue dwelling in the soul field and supporting our collective evolution. With deep gratitude, we thank one another and all our guides, angels, and guardians. Remembering as we minister to one another and to ourselves, we uplift one another. We encourage the magic we co-created to ripple out to all our relations for the benefit of all beings.
Estamos profundamente agradecidos por esta experiencia milagrosa de comunión con nuestro ser sagrado aquí en el campo del alma. De todo corazón recibimos la comunión de cada uno de nosotros y de la luz de nuestra alma divina. Al culminar formalmente esta congregación, cada uno de nosotros, de manera personal, permaneceremos aquí en el campo del alma, apoyando nuestra evolución divina y colectiva. Con profunda humildad, agradecemos el uno al otro y a nuestros ancestros, ángeles, guías y guardianes de luz, recordando que cuando predicamos con nuestro ejemplo, nos elevamos el uno al otro y alentamos la magia que acabamos de co-crear para que se expanda a todos para el beneficio de la humanidad. So, holding our candles, wake up light, we blow out our candles, and we close our circle for today. And whatever needs to remain in the Temple of Divine Perfection, leave it there, totally fine. And we'll see you very shortly, very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, beloveds. Thank you for being with us.